Hey friends, it's Miss Morgan. I am really missing you guys a lot, and I hope that you are being safe and getting all your work done at home, even though we can't be together in school. So this is your next ELA lesson for this week. We're going to be reading a story about a scientist named Rachael Carson, and then we're going to answer some questions. Make sure that after you listen to the video and answer the questions that you turn your work back into me, okay? So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Here it is, Rachael Carson. Make it a little bit bigger here. Okay. So at the top of your paper, it says, listen to Ms. Moore read this text aloud to you. Then answer 5 questions at the bottom of this page and turn it back in. In this place right here is going to be the link that you click on to watch this video. All right, so inventors and scientists, Rachael Carson. There's a picture of her. Now this is a black and white picture, it's not color. So that helps me to know that this was a long time ago. Underneath the picture, this is called the caption. Can you say that with me? Caption. The caption is a small sentence or 2 sentences that tell me about the picture. So the caption says, activist and author Rachael Carson, whose book, Silent Spring, led to a study of pesticides. What's pesticides, I wonder? Testifies before a Senate Government Operations Subcommittee in Washington, D.C. on June 4th, 1963. That was a long time ago. Carson urged Congress to curb the sale of chemical pesticides and aerial spraying. So to curb, it means to stop it. She wanted to stop the sale of these pesticides and spraying of the pesticides. Well, we don't know what pesticides are yet, but that's okay. Let's keep reading and we'll find out. Then it gives me a summary. Oh, that's good. It already tells me a summary of the text. It says, Rachael Carson was a famous marine biologist. Marine means that she studied water and ocean animals, and she was a biologist, so she was a scientist. She was an author and an environmentalist, who is someone who works to take care of the environment. The environment is the world around us, like the trees and the lakes and the oceans and the animals. So all of the environment is the world around us. She is best known for writing Silent Spring. The book started the environmental movement and made people aware that people have an effect on the environment. So she made people aware that people like you and me, we affect the environment in good ways and in bad ways. Let's keep reading. Early life. In 1907, Rachael Carson was born in a small Pennsylvania community. She spent a great deal of time exploring the forests and streams. As a young child, Carson felt strongly about nature and writing. When she was 10 years old, she published her first story in a children's magazine. I know you guys are like 10 years old, so you could write something and put it in a magazine, something that is important to you. So it looks like to Rachael, nature was important to her, so she liked writing about it. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. In 1925, Carson started at the Pennsylvania College for Women. Carson was given a scholarship or money for school to do graduate work in biology at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. Joining the U.S. Fisheries Bureau. Carson had a talent for both writing and biology. In 1935, it won her a job with the U.S. Bureau of Fisheries, the part of the government that protects fish and where they live. So she was working with a government company that protects the fish in the oceans and the lakes. From the very beginning, she said it was important to think about the well-being of the fish as well as that of the fisherman. Carson published her first book, Under the Sea Wind, in 1941. She wrote about science and the sea in a clear and beautiful way. People read it and became interested in the natural world. I see that this is highlighted in a pink color, so I know that I'm going to need that to answer my questions at the bottom. Silent Spring. In 1952, she left her job to write. In 1962, her fourth and last book, Silent Spring, was published about the danger caused by harmful chemicals called pesticides. Farmers use pesticides to kill bugs that destroy crops. That tells me what pesticides is, and it's highlighted, so I'm going to need that later in the questions. But it's a harmful chemical. Chemical is something that you would spray on the plants in order to kill the bugs that like to eat the plants. Carson became interested in pesticides when she was at the Fish and Wildlife Service. She became even more worried when a new one called DDT came out in 1945. Carson read scientific studies that said it harmed creatures that live in the water. So why didn't she like the DDT? Because it was harming, it was bad for the animals that lived in the water. The consequences of Silent Spring. In Silent Spring, Carson said that farmers were using too many pesticides. She said that they were contaminating the environment and slowly poisoning the living things. So the pesticides were killing the environment and the living things in the environment. Carson knew most people did not know this and would be very surprised. She also knew that many people in the farming business would get angry. Carson knew they would attack her and say her book was a fake, but this did not stop her. She wanted to let the public know the facts about pesticides, and she hoped it would lead to stronger environmental laws. So Rachel was very brave because even though she knew that people would try to attack her and say that her book was not true, but it did not stop her. She cared more about the environment and the animals in the environment than she did about what other people would say about her. And she also wanted to change the laws about the environment. Starting right here. Carson's book changed many people's ideas about the environment. People wrote to their lawmakers and asked them to do something about pesticides. Lawmakers asked Carson to speak to them about pesticides. Carson said the government should reduce the use of pesticides and ban the worst ones, which means to stop the worst pesticides from being allowed to be used so it would not hurt the environment. The government's science committee agreed with Carson. In 1972, the government said no one could use DDT anymore. Yay, good job, Rachel. Later, Life and Death. Carson died of cancer in 1964 when she was just 57 years old. Oh, that's horrible. She was kind of young. In 1969, the Fish and Wildlife Service named one of its refuges in Maine to remember this amazing woman. It is called the Rachael Carson National Wildlife Refuge. Okay, that's the end of our story. Let's look at our questions. So if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, it says, highlight your answers to the following questions. Well, number 1 is not a highlight. It tells me to write it on the line. So it says, what is the name of her first book? And I know it's in pink, so I'm going to scroll back up here to the pink. There it is. Carson published her first book, Under the Sea Wind. This is the name of her first book. So you are going to write this on this line. Write it on the line right here, okay? Number 2, what is a pesticide? Well, we did learn about what it was. So let's go back up here. I know I'm looking for the yellow highlight. There it is. It is a harmful chemical. Farmers use pesticides to kill bugs that destroy crops. There's my answer. All right, let's look at number 3. Why was Carson worried about the new pesticide DDT? I'm looking for the blue. Let's go back up here. There it is. It says she became even more worried when a new one called DDT came out in 1945. Carson read scientific studies that said it harmed creatures that live in the water. There's my answer. All right. Number 4. How did Carson's book change people's ideas about the environment? Let's go look at the green. There it is. Carson's book changed many people's ideas about the environment. People wrote to their lawmakers and asked them to do something about pesticides. Okay, there's my answer. I have one more question. Now I notice number 5 is not highlighted. That means that I'm going to have to use what I know in my head about what we read in the story. It says, what is the best inference you can make about Rachael Carson based on the text? Inference, I'm going to bold that. Inference means that I have to make a guess based on what the clues from the text. So Rachael Carson was a good writer? Maybe, I don't really know for sure. Rachael Carson loved the environment and wanted to help it? Yep, that's pretty true. Rachael Carson learned about the ocean as a child. Well, she did, but that's only the beginning of her life, not the whole story. All right. Remember, highlight your answers. So if I'm going to highlight, then I'm going to do like this, and then I'm going to come up here to this highlighter button. See where it says highlight color? And then I can pick whatever color I want to highlight, okay? When you're finished, turn this back into me. I really enjoyed working with you today. Can't wait to see you next week. Also, don't forget, I have office hours on Wednesdays where you can come and join the Google Meet and we can talk about your work and get some answers for your questions, okay? For 5th grade, we meet at 12 o'clock on Wednesday, okay? So I'll see you guys at 12 o'clock on Wednesday. Bye-bye.